Time to talk some law. Our resident lawyer, Despina Priala, of boutique law firm Priala Legal in Runaway Bay. With us every Thursday morning, she brings all of her legal expertise and provides general advice on the latest hot topics. She has experience that spans more than 25 years, count them, in the area of property and commercial law. She also prepares wills as part of estate planning and litigation. Morning to you, Despina.
Good morning, Wayne. Good morning, Brooke.
Good morning, Despina. Good morning, Wayno. So this morning, this particular story is in regards to a business called Coposit, which I haven't actually heard of before, but a current affair just did a bit of a story on Coposit, which sounds like this really helpful service for home buyers. But Despina's done some digging, and there's quite a few things we might have to be careful of, right, Desi?
I think so, yes. So this is not an expose, I suppose, of let's expose Coposit. This is not what this is about because I don't think that's fair. But what I've done is I've looked into it. I've listened to the Current Affairs show, and I want to try and give some listeners out there who might be thinking of using the services of Coposit to explain to them a little bit more about what they might be getting into after reading all their terms of use, which I have done now, which is available on the website. So usually it's typically at the bottom of the front page, or the home page, I should say, right at the bottom, it says terms of service. And a lot of people don't click on that to actually read what the terms and conditions are. In this case, it's really important to do that. And there is a lot of, I suppose, some legal jargon, but what I want to do is perhaps just say to listeners out there, particularly first home buyers, because I think that's targeting first home buyers, and we'll explain what it is in a minute, that I think you just need to be really careful and really get some proper advice from your lawyer before you commit yourself to this type of service, okay? And it might very well suit you. You just need to be well informed. Like anything that I've always said on the show. So if you're signing an off-the-plan contract, and this is all about off the plan, always get advice about that contract. This is no different. This is a contract with Coposit, this company that's been formed to provide certain services. And again, you should get advice, very much so, about this contract that you may want to think about signing with Coposit. Okay, so what it is in a nutshell is that this company Coposit assists buyers to buy in off the plan contracts where they don't have the 10% deposit. So if we go back a bit and we explain, when you want to buy in an off the plan project, you always have to pay 10% deposit. Now, you typically will have to pay that within the first 2 weeks of signing your contract with the developer, right? And you've got that time. Now, when I talk to buyers before they even sign a contract, I always ask them the question, just checking you've got your 10% deposit, right? I mean, there's no point signing a contract if you haven't got your 10% deposit. So if you haven't got it, you can't afford to pay it. What's the point in signing a contract? So this company says, you know what, if you don't have your 10% deposit, don't worry. We're here to help you, okay? You don't need your 10% deposit to sign an off the plan contract. So, and this is how we can help you. So it's not evident in the terms and conditions, and I read them, but when I listened to the interview on A Current Affair, the person who established the company said, look, we ask buyers to pay $10,000 up front as part of the deposit. And then what they do basically is they pay it off on a weekly basis with a direct debit form and setup with Coposit. So it's like any direct debit you might have already set up for your loan, or maybe your gym membership, or whatever you've got. It's exactly the same, where you sign a form that says direct deposit, direct debit, I should say, and then every week Coposit will then direct debit, so withdraw,
Deduct the money, yeah.
an agreed money, yeah, that you agree to upfront on a weekly basis. So, and on their website, there are a variety of projects listed. I think there's only one for the Gold Coast. The rest of them are interstate. And it gives examples. So if you want to buy something that's worth 800,000 or 900,000, there's some examples there of what you might be looking at on a weekly basis. Okay. So then, okay, you think, all right, I don't need my 10%. Happy days. Let's sign up on a contract. I can become an owner in the future, and I don't even need my 10%. And I'm going to get to pay it off. Okay. Well, that might sound all very well and good, but what happens if you default? And what happens to that money that you've paid previously? And what happens to your relationship with the developer if you don't end up paying your full 10% deposit?
Yeah. And just quickly, Despina, is there interest on this with this Coposit? Do they have high
So,
fees or?
so this is what I would have expected that, but in their terms and conditions, and they have said on this interview that we don't charge. So Coposit doesn't charge anyone interest for late payments or any charges of any kind, which I thought was, okay, a little bit, I suppose,
Bizarre,
generous.
almost.
Well,
Yeah.
a little bit generous to say, well, how do they make their money, which we might
Yeah.
get to in a minute. But look, I think the important bit here when I read the terms and conditions is it talks about the contract that you would sign with the developer to buy the off the plan property, right? So as I said, you'd have a contract with Coposit and you'd have a contract with the developer. Now, the terms and conditions talk about, well, if you default, right? So if you've got to make sure you've got enough money in your account that you nominate for the direct debit each week. Yeah. And if you don't have enough money, then you're in default, aren't you? So you haven't paid your weekly payment. And it says, well, you know what? If you're in default, you've got 6 weeks. Okay, so we'll send you a notice and we'll give you 6 weeks to remedy that default. And if you don't top it up by then and you fix up what you owe, then the developer will just simply rescind the contract and you get to walk away. And everything you paid up to that point will then be given to the developer. But, I've got some concerns with that. And I don't really know if that is actually the accurate picture. Okay. And because typically when you sign any contract with a developer, if you are in default, you don't pay your deposit on time, you're in default of that contract, and the developer just doesn't simply, you know what, we'll just rescind. No, they've got to reserve their rights. They could sue you for the balance. They could sue you for legal fees. And it's a termination. They don't just simply go, you know what, well, let's just rescind. Don't worry about paying what you owe me. I'll just go resell it to Joe Blow around the corner. I mean, that's not how it works. So I'd be a little bit concerned, and I'd really want to explore that off-the-plan contract that Coposit is organising for you, being the intermediary person. Does it actually say that? Does it actually say that you can just simply walk away? Yeah. And then, of course, the other issue, which wasn't apparent, is, well, you're giving all your money to an intermediary party, and that party is supposedly paying it to the developer. So that's the arrangement. Well, what happens if that intermediary party, Coposit, what if they collapse, go broke, go into liquidation? It doesn't actually say when the monies are paid to the developer. So
is it by section when it gets processed, or is it the whole amount, or is it a third once you get to that point?
It's not clear. It's not clear at all in the terms and conditions at all. And then there's other things that obviously strike me of great concern being a lawyer. I mean, there's terms in there about warranties that the buyer gives to Coposit, about indemnifications for losses, about the use of their services. They want buyers to warrant that their services, Coposit services, are actually legal. I mean, that's got nothing to do with buyers at all. It's not their services. It's Coposit is providing a service. So how can a buyer warrant that it's legal? So,
weird.
It's all in the fine print. So, like I've always said, and this is not let's come down on Coposit. All I'm saying is it's hit the media. It's an interesting time in the market. You've got everyday Australians, yes, first-time buyers, they're trying to get into the market, but everyone's watching their dollars. Interest rate rises are going up. The values of property are coming down slightly, but not significantly. Wages are going up. So you've got all these factors that everyone has to grapple with. And I'm saying, well, look, this might sound all right about, hey, I don't need 10%. I'm struggling. Well, if you're struggling, maybe the answer is not to go to a company such as this, maybe, right? Maybe. And maybe it's just not to go into a contract at all if you can't afford a 10% deposit in the first place.
Yep, that's true enough. If you can't get the 10%, how are you going to get the other? How are you going to be able to afford the other 90? That's
exactly. And come settlement, how are you going to fund the rest? And you're going to be in default, and all sorts of nasty things can happen to you from that developer. So just be wary and get advice, because there are risks. And that's what I'm saying. So make sure that you see someone about this if you're interested in going to this company or any other company that might offer similar services. Just get that advice up front.
And there are other companies offering the same service?
Not that I'm aware of. No.
So
no.
this is a first.
And yes, and it's in terms of how Coposit makes their money, they're very clear. I mean, they're obviously got an arrangement with the developer, so they get paid some sort of a fee for introducing buyers to the developer. Yes, but the developer will only take a certain percentage of these buyers, because any financier for a developer will not sign off on these contracts because they're not really compliant in terms of pre-sales. A pre-sale contract and an off the plan that's fully compliant, where they'll allow construction funding to proceed, is one where the 10% deposit's being paid. Yeah, not being paid off over a year or so.
Few details we gotta be wary of there, I think. But excellent, and it's so good to talk to you about it, Despina, just coming from a place where this is a new business. And to me, I'm like, being young and I want to buy a house, I'm like, sounds great, but the fine print is the stuff that I hit next on. I'm not reading, so it's good.
Exactly right, and you really could be hurting yourself, and it could help you, but it could also hurt you. And all I'm saying is, just talk to someone that, preferably a lawyer, of course, that can give you advice about this type of arrangement before you actually go into it.
Yeah, and sign off 100%. Thank you so much, Despina. And coming up next, what can go wrong if you sign a contract on a home without getting it vetted by a lawyer? Despina is currently pulling her hair out with this very strange situation with a home buyer. That's coming up next on Talking Law.
Are you confused about legal jargon? Do you need legal advice but don't know where to turn? Tune in to Talking Law with Despina Priala every Thursday morning at 8:30 on Radio 97. Despina, a leading lawyer with over 20 years of experience, will demystify the law and provide practical advice to help you navigate legal issues. Whether it's a family matter, a property dispute, or a business concern, Talking Law has got you covered. Don't miss out on this valuable resource. Tune in to Talking Law with Despina Priala every Thursday morning at 8:30 on Radio 97.